Okay, so sometimes we want to take an equation that's in general form and write it in standard form. And there's a process for this. There's actually two ways to do it. One is by completing the square, which your book doesn't really show that, so I'm not going to go into that right now. And the other, they have the steps in a box somewhere in your textbook, but I'm going to show you how to do it. Okay, so find the x-intercepts of the quadratic function. I think we kind of already did this, to be honest. Okay, so what we're going to do is write this equation in standard form. So we're going to find the vertex. So h is going to equal the opposite of b over 2a. In this case, that's going to be negative 4 over 2 times 2, which is going to be negative 1. Okay, so that's h. K is going to be f of negative 1, which will be 2 times negative 1 squared plus 4 times negative 1 minus 4. So what do we get there? 2 minus 4, or negative 6? Okay, and that's K. So because we know that this is A right there, we can write it in standard form. I guess I'll write it down here. So f of x equals, and if you don't remember, standard form is a times x minus h squared plus k. So we're going to fill everything in. Our a is 2. Our h is negative 1, so it's going to be minus a negative, or plus 1. And then our k is minus 6. So that's what the equation looks like in the standard form. But that's not what the question asks. The question asks us to find the x-intercepts. So to find the x-intercepts, we set that equation to, 2 times x plus 1 squared minus 6, we set that equal to 0. Okay? So you're going to take that function and set it equal to 0. Now, you might be thinking at this point, well, why didn't I just set, the original in general form, set it equal to 0? We're going to talk about that. The book shows you this method, and I'm going to go through it just in case something like this happens and you want to use this, then you'll know how. Okay, so put the 6 on the other side. Divide both sides by 2. So x plus 1 squared equals 3. This is a good review. So you're going to take the square root of both sides. When you do that, you'll have to do a plus or minus thing. And then you're going to get, x plus 1 equals plus or minus the square root of 3. I'm going to run out of room again. Okay, so subtract the 1, over here, and that's going to give you x equals negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 3. These are the x-intercepts. Now to write them as ordered pairs, you would write 1 as negative 1 minus the square root of 3, comma 0. Usually put the minus case first because it's furthest to the left. And then the other one is going to be negative 1 plus the square root of 3, comma 0. Now, that's a square root. Those are what we call exact answers. They are not decimal approximations. In math, a lot of times we want exact answers. If they ask you for a decimal approximation, you could put it in a calculator and get one, but I would go with the exact answers. And those would be then the x-intercepts.